Well, hello everyone and welcome to this absolutely spectacular fall day. I'm here at Cindy's house and we're going to be doing some work in the garden beds in preparation for fall for Cindy's parents. Now, we are really excited for this episode because it's going to be covering a question that comes up so frequently here that I decided I'd make a video on it. It's really simple. I've done a video on it before, but it was a little lengthy, longer than I would prefer. So we're gonna make this one short, quick, and just really simple for you. So what we're going to be covering is fall preparation in preparation for spring, because the question always comes up, hey, I've torn out my stuff, or I'm getting ready to tear out my stuff. What should I do to prepare my beds for springtime? And so what we're going to cover is kind of in 3 steps what I do, and there's really no kind of textbook answer because everyone has a different method. So I'm going to share with you my method and the methods and the different methods that I've used, so you have an option, so you do have some options if you don't like one of them. So the first one is a bed of perennials. See this bed right here, it's got a lot of green material. It's got some broccolis, some brassicas, some bok choy, and some mustard greens and stuff. This bed, we are going to rip it out because I'm not choosing this method this year because they didn't really like these greens. They didn't ever eat from them. They actually sprouted from seed. But if you're someone that likes these greens here, these are actually really cold hardy greens. And you can plant very cold hardy greens or perennials like strawberries, and it's going to allow you to actually have coverage, because the whole part is really crucial that I'm going to get into is covering the soil. You never want barren soil over the winter time. Barren soil leads to compaction from snow, it leads to nutrient runoff in the spring, and it also leads to leaching when the water runs through the soil, so you have actually decreased nutrients. And so it's really important, and that's what this green cover is going to do. So we are going to tear this out, but if you like that, leave it in. If you're going to be able to use it or whatever, or plant a cover crop that's going to stay there year round like strawberries. So option number 1. So I'm going to tear this out, and then we're going to go to option number 2. So we actually have some beautiful bok choy here, or pak choy as many people say, and the pak choy we're actually going to take home because Cindy's parents didn't like it at all and they never really had any salads with it. But mind you, this bed is actually 2 years old. This came up from seed from 2 years ago's garden. I'll post a link to where we planted this out. These are actually the same plants that just came up from seed, which is crazy. And so they look spectacular, and actually the original soil's in here as well. They've done no amending of the soil, which is going to tie into part 2. So we're going to rip these out and see what kind of plants. Oh, look at that. This is amazing. Now, if you remember, the soil type that we used was just 1 part, it was basically 1 part mock peat to 1 part compost, and we used a bunch of trifecta in this bed. And again, I'll post a link to that video so you can check it out. But look at these vegetables. Nothing has been done. These actually grew from seed, and it's just an absolutely colossal pak choy. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So we're gonna get to take that one home. And then there's other ones in here too, like some mustards. I'm just gonna rip these out, and we're gonna take these home with us to make some salads and juices with. But look at this. I mean, look at this. Look at these mustard greens. They're huge, and we've honestly done nothing to them. So, man, you talk about an effortless garden and still having a lot to harvest. Well, that's probably the definition of what I'm seeing here. So, yeah, the rest I'm just going to rip out. It's all kind of gone to seed. This is 1 plant right here. This is oh my gosh, this is the most behemoth mustard plant I've ever seen. All grown with what we had in it from 2 years ago. I'm telling you what, if that is not the power of trifecta, I don't know what is. Wow, that is incredible. So we're gonna quick weed this out. It's important, by the way, to weed any perennial weeds. You do not want them getting a hold over winter. And those are things pretty much like your weeds, basically. That's why they can take hold and become invasive, is because they are almost all perennials. So things like dandelions, things like creeping Charlie, things like, pigweed, stuff like that. So rip all those out. Start with a clean, fresh slate, and then we're gonna go get our compost. Now, we are using bagged compost, but use your compost of choice. So let's go get that, and we'll be back with you in a second. All right, so we pulled all of our plants out and any weeds that are remaining, and we're ready for part 2 of option number 2, and that is to refill the beds. You want to always refill your beds with fresh compost year after year. If you're not planting a perennial crop in here, you're going to want to continuously refill the beds because you're going to notice, well, whoa, where'd all the soil go? This is 2 years of neglect. Basically, 25% per year is what you can expect because soil compacts down, roots take up space, and you pull the plants out and they take a little soil with it. A magician comes and waves its wand over your garden beds and who knows where the soil goes, but it's gone. And so you have to make a practice of re-amending the soil with fresh compost and fresh soil because you're going to notice that your growing space gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, in this raised bed, it's only about 8 inches tall. And 8 inches of soil is great, but when it compacts down by 50%, 4 inches of soil, I don't think so. You cannot have a successful garden for that long with only 4 inches of growable space. So, you know, you see here, look at this is about, I'd say about 4 inches, so that's about right. And so these beds here need a top off, and you're going to have to just get in the habit of doing it year after year. It's something that as gardeners, it's unfortunate, but it's also just one of those chores that you do in the fall time to prep it for spring because it's going to pay off, I promise. So we have our compost right over here, and we're just going to dump it onto the garden and top off the bed. Now this is fresh bagged stuff. We get it from our local big box store, and we actually get it about 55 to 60% off this time of year. And it's something that as gardeners, if you make an effort to go to your big box stores at this time of year to top off your beds for spring, you're actually going to be spending less than you would in the springtime to top off your beds. So if you're going to be doing it either way, you might as well be doing it now. So let's top off these beds, and then we'll move on to step 3, step 3 of option number 2. All right, so there we go. Now we have all this topped off. It took just about 4 cubic feet of soil, really nothing much other than 2 big bags of compost. You do want to use really good quality compost because you don't want to put inferior stuff in your garden. Use the best quality stuff possible. Like I said, we did get about 60% off at our big box store because it's fall time and really nobody's doing gardening other than the vigilant gardeners like me. So we got a really good deal on it, and I would encourage you to do the same. But now that we've already put the soil in the beds, we want to preserve the quality of this stuff. I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, look at this. I can stick my hand all the way down there. So that's a good 8-9 inches of soil. We've even mounded it up a little bit in the center. So it's about 8-9 inches of soil, which is so good for growing vegetables. Now, what I will stress is that this cannot stay like this. Just because you've topped it off, you can feel great about yourself, pat yourself on the back, and in the springtime, when the snow melts, what? Whoa! Where'd the soil go? Did someone come and steal my soil? Well, maybe some people's soil, because some people's soil are really great, and I would probably steal some people's soil too. So, no one came and stole your soil. The soil fairy didn't come and rob you. What happens is called compaction, and the snow packs down and it gets really heavy, and it actually will press the soil down. So what we can do is we can do a couple things. We can plant a cover crop, and I recommend a cover crop for a lot of people. If you are someone that considers yourself a summertime gardener, you can plant a cover crop because a cover crop, basically you grow it now into the spring and you flip it over in the spring. If you are someone that considers yourself an aggressive springtime gardener, you like to plant stuff like garlic now, which we'll be planting in next episode. Stay tuned for that. Cindy's going to be planting garlic for her parents. If you plant garlic in the fall and want it in the spring, or if you plant stuff like spinach or really cold hardy greens for spring harvest, you're not going to want to plant a cover crop because then you can't access the soil. And so what I recommend doing then is mulching. You can mulch if you don't want a cover crop. And if you do go the cover crop route, I will say though, don't just plant any cover crop. Get a nice, easy cover crop to begin with. Clover is the best one. You can go to your local hunting supply store, any outdoors outfitter, Gander Mountain, anyone like that that has a nice deer plot mix. Deer plot mix is typically all clover. Find some that are like hairy vetch and clover, some are just clover. Those are a really easy variety to turn over. They don't have a very aggressive root system, and they give nitrogen back because they're nitrogen fixing plants. So you're going to have a lot of luck with that. and they're pretty cheap when you go the route of getting deer plot feed, because if you buy a cover crop, you typically pay a little bit of a premium for it, and there's really no need to pay a premium. So yep, if you're going that route, do that. If you're going the mulching route, grass clippings, mulched leaves, throw it over top, because what that's going to do is it's going to add a little insulative barrier. So when the snow packs down in the wintertime, it's going to pack the leaves down and not the soil. And then in the springtime, you can rake it back, just spread the mulch layer apart to plant in, whatever you want, and it's going to retain that nice fluffy texture that you have right now without losing it. And then the very last thing you can do is tarp it. I know a lot of people that are summer planters, but they don't want to put down a cover crop and they don't have access to a nice mulching layer. If that's all you have is a tarp, do that. It's going to do just the same, except for the fact it really won't benefit the soil. A cover crop can give nutrients back to the soil. Mulch will break down and give nutrients back to the soil. A tarp will really just protect the soil, but it's better than nothing. So there's your 3 options, and there's your 2 methods to preparing your bed for spring. Hopefully you all learned something new, and remember, stay tuned for next episode. Cindy's going to be doing a really fun garlic planting guide, and we're going to be putting her to the test on one of my garlic planting how-to videos. So it's going to be kind of fun and really interesting as well. So hopefully you all enjoyed, and I hope you all are growing bigger going home. This is Luke from the MIgardener channel. See ya. Bye.